Good morning, everyone. My name is Mark Cabrera, and I'm going to be speaking to you about personality-based presentation. This is what it's going to be all about today. How does personality relate with your listing or buyer presentation? Well, it's the way you would interact with your clients and how you would present your information and assert influence. And this is essentially what I've done with these listings that I come up with. Another thing I can tell you is if you know the person's personality, it makes a big difference also in terms of how you work with them. And when I say how you work with them is what kind of things that you would do to make sure that that client would continue working with you. One of the things I always tell my client is that I only look for loyalty, and you'll always have 100% of my effort and energy to try to help you get to your goal. That's one of the things that I require for me to work with a client. If I know the client is telling me like, oh, I'm going to be working with two other buyer agent, then I explain to them the reasoning behind why being loyal to one agent is much better, because that person will put 100% of their effort in, and you will get better results that way. But then also at the same time, depending on their personality, then I kind of influence them in a way that they not only understand that this is the requirement that I have in order for them to work with me, but it's also something that would benefit them. And by showing them value through understanding what they're looking for with an agent, but through understanding their personality, then I could kind of explain to them, hey, listen, the way I would take care of you is not just through the transaction. If this person I'm talking to is a blue, when we finish this transaction, we will actually throw a housewarming party. Of course, right now it's not a good time, but I normally would throw a housewarming party for them, invite their friends, and paint a picture of like closeness and camaraderie, that kind of thing, right? So if a person's a green, I let them know, listen, my goal is to get you the best numbers, trying to get you to the goal, the goal that you have in terms of being able to purchase the next home. So for us to get there, I have a whole plan that we're gonna go through that makes sense logically, and I go through every single one of them and get them to understand it's what makes sense. And then you have the golds, right? The golds when I'm talking to them, and the buyers now I'm talking about, and what I would want to do is to have really a kind of practically a manual of exactly how we're going to go through every single process, and every single questions that they have definitely will be answered one way or another, and I'll give them assurance that it's going to happen. And also in the beginning, I give them something of a list of things that's going to happen, so they know they have a checklist, because golds have a tendency of loving a checklist. They enjoy actually getting things done. So with that type of personality, that's usually the approach that I take for the buyer side. And then when you have an orange, well, we just have fun, because I'm also an orange. So I get along with orange very well. And I know why many different ways I know I'm an orange is not only through my peers, but also through a test that I've actually done with multiple tests and different, like Myers-Briggs and different DISC tests, and the personality color test. So I've done all these testing in terms of what my personality is. I'm very consistent as being an orange in that sense. So I know when I can see an orange, I can spot an orange, because we'll be laughing the whole time through the whole process. It's just a fun thing. We make it a fun environment for us, very positive a lot of the times, and getting it through the whole process of buying a home for them. What is an orange personality type? Now we're going to get into a little bit more detail. This is according to this website. And actually, it's interesting. If you Google this and you put orange personality type, the first one you see is the color personality from a university. So you can get into this a little bit more if you wanted. But I only put like the more tendencies of how people are being an orange. Tend to be witty, spontaneous, generous, optimistic, eager, and bold. They need fun, variety, stimulation, and excitement. Those are the characteristic of an orange person. But for everything that you see here that looks so positive, right? There's also the negative side, the downside of orange. Orange has a scenario where they are so outgoing and free that they probably annoy the heck out of everybody else, because they don't go through the details that everybody else goes through. They don't go through the analysis of what everybody else goes through. They don't go through the whole empathetic part where some other people actually go through. They just the way they are, and sometimes it kind of comes across as being self-centered or being arrogant or things like that. So that's kind of how they get presented in a nutshell. So like I said, for oranges, this is the way I look at it. I keep it fun. I keep it simple. This is what orange loves. Keep it simple and keep it going, because they get bored so easily on anything, any details that you're going to have to put out there. They tend to actually get bored very easily. So like I said, but then again, like I told you before, we have all four parts of the personality, right? So if the dominant could be both an orange and a green. Such as myself, I'm actually more of an orange and a green. I'm actually very, very analytical, but my orange is actually more dominant than my green, but not very much so. So I'm very close, like tied into to both. So being that type of person, I can relate very well also with people that are more analytical, like math-minded or science-minded, that kind of stuff. We can have conversations all day long with that type of person. It doesn't mean I'm just that one personality. That's my point. We're all those personalities. What is a green personality type? Well, the green personality type tend to be perfectionist, analytical, conceptual, cool and calm, inventive, and logical. A lot of the greens out there, I can tell you right now, you can imagine, they're the geeks of the world, or what we sometimes call geeks of the world, but at the same time though, they're very calm compared to an orange. So they look at the world more logical, so they don't panic in a lot of cases because they know exactly what it looks like on the other side. They tend to kind of calculate everything that they do, so they know what to expect. So there's not a lot of unexpected things that happen in their lives. I personally sometimes call it boring because I'm an orange, but at the same time though, somebody who's that way is perfectly fine. I mean, this is who we are, and they enjoy finding knowledge and seeking knowledge and understanding, always looking for explanations, for answers. They're very explorative. So, when you're talking to somebody analytical, if you're gonna really connect with those people, you better be versed in a lot of areas and be somewhat have that type of connection that you can make. Otherwise, they're gonna get bored to death on you if you're not able to connect with them in that way. So just keep that in mind. If you know the person ahead of time, it's even better. Then you can research certain things that they may know that they might actually have common ground. Then you can connect with them in areas that they're familiar with. So if you're talking to an IT person and you're going to be presenting and you know he's an IT person, assume he's more than likely, if he's enjoying his job, of course, more than likely a green personality. So if being a green personality, kind of get to know exactly what kind of field he's in and get to learn a little bit about that field. So then when conversation comes out that way, then you'll have something to talk about, at least something that he's interested in. What is a blue personality type? Well, they tend to be enthusiastic, sympathetic, communicative, compassionate, idealistic, sincere, and imaginative. They care and want to contribute to everything they are part of. Relationships are important to the blues. So this type of part of the personality I also have, of course, like I told you before, not as dominant as the orange and the green. The blue is actually the next one that I have in terms of my personality. So it's actually, I go from orange, green, and then blue. So looking at it from understanding your personality type, I'm telling you, it's really good because you can bring out that part of your personality that will connect with people. If you want to influence people, the number one thing you have to understand is when you're sitting with one-on-one with a person and you want to connect with them, you tend to want to mimic. So then what they are doing or who they are as a person, not necessarily in a fake way, but more in a natural way, so that the person feels comfortable about being around you. And that's very important to know, because I was mentoring another agent the other day, and he brought in a client, and I know the type of personality the client was. The client's personality is green. So when my agent, who happens to be a blue, start talking about all these other things outside of more like a blue, yeah, he's definitely more like a blue. So he was talking about things that are not related to real estate, or trying to present himself a certain way, and I was sitting there, and I'm actually like looking at this and saying, how do I win over the client? Well, I win over the client through understanding her personality type. So I went directly to the point, because it's gonna bore to death the client sitting there talking about what we can do and who we are and what we've done in the past, and and bring back memories and stuff like that. And for the green, all the green wants to know is, what's the bottom number. So it's interesting because I don't have a presentation in there. I'm going in there completely blind. As soon as I walk in there, since I was trying to help him win over the listing, the first thing I try to understand is what kind of personality this person have. So as I started asking questions, where you go, what's your plans, what are you looking to do, I kind of figured out already that she just wants to get to the bottom line. And so the first thing I said, hey, listen, let's cut to the chase. I know exactly that what she's looking for is, what are the bottom numbers, or can we achieve the bottom number, whatever she's looking for. So the first question I asked for her is, how much do you want to walk away with on this property? And she exactly knew. She's like, I want to walk away with $30,000. I was like, okay, all right. And then knowing the fact that she's a green, I already knew that she did the research, know exactly what neighbor sold for what price. And I just directly asked her, I said, so how much do you want to sell the property for? And her answer was, well, this one person actually did this and sold it for this amount, but slightly bigger property, and this other person. So she did the whole calculation thing for me. So I should be around like 150. I'm like, okay. So you already know, you have an idea. And to be honest with you, I know the area very well, and it looks like you're hitting the number. So I tell you what, let's leave it at 150. We'll make it move forward. Right? So it's very important that you know what type of personality that you're working with. So knowing the fact that she was a green, that's the direction I took the conversation. Very, very precise. And she loved it. And I tell you, why I know she loved it is because after that conversation, everything else actually kind of, all the walls came down. We started talking about other things, move on, that kind of stuff. So it's very important when you're sitting down with a person is to understand what type of personality they are, because you're going to bore them to death if you don't actually hit the right communication or the right subject at a certain precise time. Now, if I know the person is more of an orange, then the presentation doesn't even have to go into details in terms of the presentation. What that person wants to know is, when are we going to be able to sell this house? Okay, all right, okay, and I'll trust you how much you want to list the property for. That's basically, I had a listing appointment with one of my mentees. Actually, she picked up the listing this way, and I'm sitting down with her client, and I know the guy is an orange, even though he's actually also a green, analytical, just very similar to my personality, but I know for a fact that he's more of an orange, because he never looked for the details. He was looking for just the basic answers, and then trying to figure out if he can trust us or not. I mean, that's usually what an orange does. If the orange feels like they can trust you, they go by gut feeling. Okay, that's good. Let's go ahead and move on. And then you have of course, the blues again. If I come across those all the time, and I explained to you earlier how I picked up that listing. But at the same time, though, when you're looking at golds, detail is very important. So if you said that you're going to send a listing agreement at a certain time and it doesn't happen, or you make a mistake on the MLS description of the property or the price of the property, you're dead. I mean, you're dead in the water with a gold. So just be very careful. If you know you're dealing with a gold, try not to make that many mistakes because they're not very tolerant of that. And checklists, like I said to you earlier, is very good for golds to have because they feel more at ease. So they're looking for more security and stability in working with you, consistency, and being able to be predictable. So the more predictable you are with a gold, the better off you are in that sense. So going to the gold now, the personality of the gold to be loyal, dependable, organized, thorough, sensible, punctual, and caring. They notice and remember facts like directions and instructions, set deadlines and want them to be met. They enjoy checklists and checking off things off the list. This is how you win a gold over. You want to win a gold over? This is it. You need to actually be on your top of your game. Be focused on making sure that when you say something that you're going to do, you get it done. Okay? The orange is more tolerable of it. The blues are even more tolerable of it if they actually connected with you so well. Okay? But the gold, you're done. So you have to be very precise on those terms. So same thing with the greens. The greens are they're also looking for precision and making sure things, because it's logical for things to happen if you say it's going to happen. That's the reason why the greens are very similar to the golds in that sense.